I've always loved book as long as I can remember. I don't remember anyone ever telling me to read. It was the other way around. It was that I was always absorbed in books, that I wasn't interested in other things. I loved stories. I grew up with stories. In the old days, your parents told you stories, the maidservants, the family members. So I grew up with a lot of stories. And then there were all these books. The books I seem to remember better are the colorful English books, pop-up books and illustrated books. And I think that is something that still being developed. I mean, now you've got some very nice illustrated books for children, but I think that's really important. What is also important is that these books, especially if you're an English reader, these books should be about your own environment. They should be about your own world. It's very nice to read about other worlds. I mean, I think that's also important because you kind of travel the world over with a book. You don't have to go to South Africa. You can read about it. You don't have to go to Australia or America. You've got books about it. But I also think you need to read in English books about your own world. I know Fahmida Riaz has done some, Hamida Khurro, even my elder daughter, someone, they've written books in English for children. But other than that, I think there's a good amount of illustrated Urdu books. I'm talking for very young children. I don't know how to tell anyone to become a writer. The only way you can become a writer is by reading. And I think it is the love of reading and of books and the worlds you enter that impels you, also actually a love of words. People often asked what I did to encourage my daughter who became a writer, who became a well-known novelist, Muneeza Shamsi. I always felt I never did anything, actually. I just let her potter around. But she said at some point, she said, you gave us lots of books to read. And I suppose these books were just always around. I never actually told them to read anything. I just said, oh, I think you might like this. So sometimes when they grew older, they saw books in my bookshelves that they started reading. I actually don't believe the common sort of lament that, oh, everybody watches television so they won't read, or everybody watches movies and it's so much easier so they won't read. I belong to a generation where my grown-up said, oh, this child reads comics all the time, she won't read. But I grew up reading perfectly well. And I think films and television, in a way, supplement your interest. It's a different medium. Books are a world that you enter entirely on your own. Television and films and other media, the electronic media, they offer you a different medium. And all these things, in my mind, exist side by side. They simply enrich each other. So don't be discouraged by that. I just think books are just something very unique. And if you watch a film that has been adapted from a book, there are a whole lot of things in a book that you will have imagined, that you will have seen, that you will have read. And when you see the film, you'll say, hey, they're not there. But that's because it's a different medium. And so it's very nice to be able to read both. And sometimes, well, like this film, War Horse, I've actually seen the stage play, which was just brilliant. The book is doing just fine. Do read that book, War Horse. It's just wonderful. And a lot of classics you can sometimes get introduced to through films, which make you want to read the book more. I think haven't I said enough?